Welcome, my name is Zaya, and this practice is all about bringing awareness and stability to the shoulder girdle. So two folks inspired this practice, Leslie and Rose, and it'll probably be one of many practices dedicated to this issue of shoulder girdle hypermobility. So let's just begin by coming down to a seat and taking a few big circles with our arms and just appreciating how much natural mobility is in this part of our bodies. You can change the circles. And we're going to be specifically focusing today on the shoulder blades, and just notice that they can come together and apart. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this clearly, but when you bring your arms up, they also sort of spin on the back. They rotate up and down. And then your arm has lots of movements it does in the shoulder joint itself. So you can take your arms out to the side here, turn one palm up and keep rotating up into the shoulder. That's external rotation. And then do the opposite with the other arm. That's internal rotation. We'll just go side to side. So keeping your shoulders safe, especially if you have a tendency towards hypermobility, is not so much about not bringing them into big ranges of motion. It's actually learning how to go into those ranges of motion with strength. And so I'll teach you a little bit about that today. It will be handy for you to have a strap and 2 yoga blocks. So let's start in a standing kneeling position. Take your block in your hand. Reach your arms forward with straight elbows. Push the block away from your chest until your upper back broadens a lot. You'll feel a doming in your upper back. And if you draw the block super, super, super in front of you, you'll start to feel some muscles on the outer ribs fire up. And you might even begin to feel your abdominal obliques fire up. There's a way where the muscles that control the scapula are also connected to our core. And go ahead and release that. So one of the things that I heard in preparing for this class is that in addition to hypermobility in the shoulders, there's sort of lack of awareness of the core support, and a collapsing in the chest. And that makes a lot of sense. So we just learned that as you bring your shoulder blades apart, abdominal core automatically strengthens. Well, check this out. As you bring your shoulder blades towards each other, notice what happens to the chest. It lifts, right? So bringing the shoulder blades towards each other, you're engaging muscles between the shoulder blades that also in charge of a little bit of back extension, finding little back bends here. Good. And release that. So when you work on the placement of the shoulder blades on the back, you're also working on abdominal core support and back strengthening, which will result in a strong core and a lifted chest. So let's do one more kneeling practice here. We're going to do 50% of the push motion, so the broadening of the upper back and feeling your belly engage, and another 50% of the pulling in motion, with the shoulder blades towards each other and the chest lifted. And see if you can do both actions at the same time. And keep that work as you very slowly bring the block overhead. Now, if you don't bring awareness to this movement, and if you go quickly, your abdominal core will probably release and just kind of unhinge from the ribs. So we're going to try to really keep those low ribs slipped down towards the lower abdominal area. And you can even imagine the low ribs like a gate that are closing shut. And all the while, your chest is rising up buoyantly because you've got that 50% draw of the shoulder blades towards each other. Try to take a deep breath here. It's hard to breathe and do this at the same time. And exhale it, release. Okay, let's come into a child's pose. You can bring your knees wide and walk your arms forward. And this is going to be a bit modified, so it's a little different than you might be used to. Take your fingertips to the ground, the palms up, and you're going to keep your elbows straight. And just keep walking your hands forward. And then you're going to grip your fingertips into the ground and attempt to drag them back to your knee. So you're not actually going to draw your hand back. You're just going to attempt to, and as you do, that attempt fires up the arm and your shoulder blades start to draw toward each other and slip down the back a little bit. So I am working like crazy. I've got a very strong pull through the arms that's translating into my shoulder blades. And again, as a result, the chest lifts here. So you can keep working the chest forward as the shoulder blades draw back and down. Finding length in your spine and gradually perhaps resting the heart space towards the floor without releasing through the shoulders. And maybe your forehead eventually comes down. You can think about your armpits staying buoyant and lifted. Good. And then draw up to your tabletop position. Okay, let's try those same actions we did in a kneeling position here in tabletop. So push the floor away from you, broaden your upper back. And as you do that, your shoulder blades are moving away from each other. And again, you might feel that musculature on the side of your ribs and maybe even your belly start to fire up. And then this is very tricky to do. Keep your elbows straight, keep your spine neutral, and draw your shoulder blades towards each other. Can you do that without bringing your shoulders to your ears? So keep them drawing down the back. Okay, one breath per movement. Take a deep breath here. And exhale. Push the floor away from you. Feel the strength of your belly as you dome your back. Inhale, slowly and gradually draw your shoulder blades down the back and together. Exhale. Slow is the key, so don't worry about getting to the destination. See about controlling the movement. Good. And we'll do one more round. All right, from here, we're going to keep broad in the upper back and just very slightly hug the shoulder blades towards each other so that your chest can extend. We're going to reach the right leg back and up. Stay very strong, especially in the right arm, as you reach your left arm forward. And we'll breathe. One more breath. And exhale, set your limbs down. And then find that push into your hands by broadening your upper back with a slight hug of your shoulder blades towards each other. So we're finding that 50% push and 50% hug. And then we're going to extend the left leg back. Reach towards the sky. Right arm forward. Keep your left arm super strong. And we breathe. Take one more breath. And exhale your limbs to the ground. Take your knees together. Sit back towards your heels. Reach your arms back with your palms facing up. And round forward into a child's pose. A little more restorative this time. We'll let the elbows soften out to the sides. Let your shoulders hunch down towards the ground. Good. And come up to a kneeling position. We'll grab a hold of our strap and come to a stand. All right, so take your strap behind you and we'll have it about shoulder width apart or a little tiny bit wider. Plant your feet underneath your hips. And then notice as the arms go back that it's totally possible to let the heads of your shoulders round forward and just pick up your fist behind you. But whenever we bring our arms back in space, we want to actually initiate from our shoulders drawing back first, and that drawing back through the shoulders initiates the pull back in the arms. All right, once you've got that, try to tear your strap in half by pulling your arms apart from each other. Feel how that strengthens up your arms and back. And then we're going to take a deep breath in, opening the chest. And on your exhale, sit back into chair pose. And can you keep reaching your fists back here and up towards the ceiling? We'll take one more deep breath. And then exhale, come to stand. Release the strap down. All right, let's reach the arms up. Inhale. And exhale, bring the hands down through heart center. Now, as you reach the arms up, and we'll do this a few more times, you'll notice that my palms turn up as they come up overhead. So pinkies are almost like trying to wrap towards each other. Now, see how that feels different when you do the opposite. Sort of internally rotate the arms and come up. You see how the shoulders get a little stuck there? So whenever you bring your arms overhead, see if you can clear that little stuck point by externally rotating the arms. Great. All right, so we'll inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Now, if it's uncomfortable to reach the floor, you're going to just grab your blocks and place them underneath your hands. We're going to take our fingertips to the floor or to the blocks, straighten the elbows, and then roll the shoulders back and towards each other to lift the chest and lengthen the spine, halfway lift. And on your next exhale, take your belly, ribs, and chest towards your legs. Drop your head. 2 more times. Inhale, halfway lift. Initiate it by rolling the shoulders back and together to lift the chest. Lower down, finding an exhale to release into. 1 more, halfway lift. Then an exhale. Good. You'll want one of your blocks handy for where we're headed next. Take your left leg back, find a high lunge holding on to your block. All right, from here, let's take the arms forward, find that 50-50 effort in the shoulders. The low ribs knitting together and down, and reach your arms up overhead, just like we did a moment ago standing. Good. We'll add a back bend from here. Draw your upper arm bones back a little bit. See if you can hug your shoulder blades towards each other and lift your chest. See if you can offer your block towards the ceiling. Take a big deep breath in. And exhale, set the block down. Step back into plank pose. Bring your knees to the ground, but keep your belly lifted towards your low back. All right, shoulder blade push-ups. Here we go. Draw the shoulder blades together and apart. Elbows are straight the entire time. One more round. And slowly lower down to the floor. All right, take your forearms to the ground. Lift your chest. So what do we do when we want to lift the chest? Draw the shoulder blades towards each other. And then to keep the shoulders from hanging out around the ears, we're actually going to push the shoulder blades a little bit wide and down into the elbows. So both actions are happening at the same time. Shoulder blades broadening and narrowing. And you can stay here if this is plenty of work for you. But if you're ready to up level, you can tuck your chin, keep your elbows reaching into the ground as you broaden your upper back and pull your ribs away from the floor and your belly towards your low back, and eventually peel your pelvis off of the ground and keep pushing through the elbows so that your upper back is the most rounded thing. And then keep that push through your elbows as you only lower your pelvis down, not your chest. Then your belly. Then your low ribs. And now lift your chest towards the ceiling. Let's do it again. Tuck the chin. Pull the low ribs away from the floor. Push into your elbows, really broaden your upper back as you peel your pelvis up. You can stay at this level or up level by pressing into the tops of your feet. Keep pushing your elbows into the floor to create a domed body here. Good. And then we'll very slowly rewind it. Try not to collapse in your upper back. Keep it round and broad until the very last moment. Okay, let's do it one more time. Any one of these variations. The key here is to go slow, because it's in slowing down the movement that we rely less on momentum and more on these little muscles that surround the shoulder girdle that we want to strengthen. Whew. Okay, let's rest. Take the feet a little bit wide. Hands can stack, forehead onto hands. 3 deep breaths. Right. From here, bring your feet together, curl your toes under, and bring your hands by your ribs. Try to hug your elbows back behind you, and just like we did with the strap behind us, can you initiate that hug of the elbows back by bringing the heads of your shoulders back? Good. So you're sort of in a cobra shape here in the upper body. The toes are curled under. Go ahead and straighten your knees and kick out through your heels. We're going to do a push-up. Take a big deep breath in. On your exhale, firm your belly. Press into your hands. Dome your upper back. Feel that spread of your shoulder blades. And we're doing a very exaggerated plank pose, getting strong through the belly. Good. And then find down dog from here. All right, we're going to shift forward into plank. Feel how in a strong plank, your low ribs are hugging towards each other and down towards the low belly. And try to keep that as you push back into down dog with your arms reaching overhead. So we did this kneeling, we did this in our lunge, and we're finding it here in down dog. Let's try that one more time. Good. And then inhale the heels high, look forward. Exhale, bend your knees, hop or take a step to the top of your space and forward fold. We're going to press into the feet, rise up. And take your hands to heart center and down by your sides. Okay, again, let's take the strap, bring it behind us. This time, let's rotate the arms externally so that your palms face each other and your knuckles are pointed out. And then from here, keep the ribs tucked in towards the low belly as you reach your arms back, and your shoulder heads are going back with you. And then you can either stay here or take chair if you're wanting a stronger variation, or you can try bringing your fist overhead as you come to a forward fold. Although for hypermobile folks, be careful here. Try to rip the strap in half. So really draw your arms apart from each other and keep those shoulder heads reaching back towards your fists. Take one more breath. And wherever you're working, let the strap go and let's all come into forward fold. And then hands onto the blocks if that was useful for your halfway lifts. Inhale, draw your chest forward, your shoulder blades back. Exhale, deep fold. So notice how in a halfway lift you could totally keep your back rounded, your shoulders sloppy, and just look up with your head. We're going to avoid that. Really draw the shoulder blades back, lift the chest. Let this be like a back bend here. And lower down. And one more time. Okay, let's step the right foot back, come into a lunge. Take your block into your hands. And here we go again. Gonna try to push the block away, pull it towards your chest, find somewhere between the two where you're attempting to do both at the same time. And then slowly reach the block up, keeping your ribs slipping down towards your low belly. To find your back bend, draw your shoulder blades together just a little bit more. Bring your upper arm bones back, lift your chest, and deepen. And we'll exhale, lower down. You can take the blocks away, step back into plank pose. Okay, let's do 3 more of those shoulder blade push-ups. You can try with your knees lifted this time. Shoulder blades come together and apart. And see if you can do this with your elbows straight. Not easy. One more time. You can always have your knees down. And then we're going to lower by bringing our elbows into a bent position. Have your elbows point straight back. Keep the heads of your shoulders lifted as you lower down. Good. Okay. From here, we're going to reach our arms back behind. And you're welcome to use the strap again if you found that to be helpful between your hands. And again, we're going to initiate by bringing the shoulder blades towards each other and down the back. Keep that in the shoulder heads as you reach your arms up. So my palms are facing each other. My pinkies are reaching towards the ceiling. My chest and head are lifted with my chin slightly tucked. And we're breathing. And let's do 10 little pulses in our arms. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And rest. Stacking the hands, resting the forehead down, and separating the legs. You might give yourself a little rock side to side through the hips. Good. And from here, we will take our legs together, curl the toes under, hands by your sides, elbows draw back, shoulder heads draw back, straight knees. Take a big deep breath in, firm your belly, push through your hands, dome your upper back, high plank, and downward facing dog. All right, let's come down to our knees and come into a crouching position, sort of like we did earlier in that child's pose, but your toes will stay tucked under. And I just want you to notice that you can either have your arms rotate out or rotated in. And you can do that rotation with your fingertips pointing forward by rotating like this. So when we go into down dog, our arms are coming up overhead essentially. And we learned earlier that rotating the arms out was important for that. So here, Your hand's going to be fixed, so you can't do down dog with your palms up, but you can still get that rotation through the upper arm. So one way I track that in myself is with a bent elbow. I know I'm not doing it if the elbow is out to the side. But if with a bent elbow, it's pointing back, then I'm in external rotation and I can bring my arm overhead. So let's try that. Bring the elbows out wide and then wrap the elbows back. Feel what's happening in your upper back as you do that. Keep that as you push the floor away from you and straighten your elbows. Holy cow. So you're still attempting to wrap those elbows back even though your elbows are straight. And I find it helpful to try to hug those elbow points towards one another. So a big midline squeeze. Take a big deep breath in. Full exhale. Deep breath in. Full exhale. Keep the work up. One more round of breath. And we'll inhale, heels go high, look forward. Exhale, bend your knees, hop or step, top of your space, and forward fold. Let's heel toe the feet apart from each other. Grab onto opposite elbow. And this time, really let your shoulders slump towards your ears. Let your head drop. And go ahead and sway side to side. Good, and from here, we'll bring our feet back underneath the hips, push into our feet, and rise up. Inhaling. And exhale, hands to heart center. We'll roll the shoulders out. Okay, let's take a seat. We're going to sit with crossed legs. I find it's really hard to keep an upright spine when I'm sitting straight on the floor. So if you are anything like me and most of the humans out there, you might want to fold up a blanket or grab a pillow and take a seat on the very edge of it. And then you can just cross your legs with your right ankle in front of the left and have your blocks ready to catch your hands eventually. Okay, let's take our arms out wide. And we'll take the right arm on top of the left. So give yourself a hug. And then try to stack your elbows or even past them. So go past midline and walking your hands to your shoulder blades. And you can do the rest of this with your hands right here if for some reason this doesn't feel safe or accessible. All right, so what you're going to do is bring your elbows forward. So I'm broadening my upper back a lot. Try to keep your elbow points as forward in space as possible as you draw your shoulder blades towards each other. So that's different than bringing the shoulder blades towards each other and bringing the whole shape in. Keeping the shape out and just doing that muscular effort of drawing the shoulder blades in. And then you'll see me do this like no motion in my head and neck just to keep tension from building up. And then let's just spend the next couple of breaths lifting the fingertips or the elbows up towards the ceiling and then drawing back down towards your chest. And relax. Wow, so that to me feels like a lot of shoulder work. Hopefully you felt that too. Let's unhook the cross at the ankles so that our heels are in line with each other and come into a forward fold. You can bring your forearms onto your blocks or straight to the ground. And if you can't reach that comfortably, just bring your hands wherever they can reach. Finding a forward fold that feels good for your hips. And seeing if you can find some support here so your arms don't have to do much work. Good. And then rise up. And we'll take the left foot in front of the right and cross your legs. Bring your arms out to the side, left arm on top of the right. Give yourself a hug, walk your hands over. And then if you want, you can take those traditional eagle arms or just keep the hug. And what you're trying to do is really draw the elbow point forward so that your shoulder blade goes wide on the back. And then keep your elbow forward, so it's not going to leave my hand here as I draw the shoulder blade back, right? So try that in your body. Stay soft in the neck. And then about 3 breaths, just subtly moving the shape up and down. I'll take a forward fold. You can uncross your ankles, bringing your heels in line with the center of your pelvis, and dive forward. Good, and rise up. You can take your blocks away. We'll come to a kneeling position, and if you want, you can pad your knees with your blanket. And we're going to do thread the needle. So go ahead and take your knees a little bit wide. We'll take the left arm up towards the sky, big reach, and then left arm wraps behind the right and reaches all the way to the right side of the room. My right hand is like a kickstand, and I've got my fingertips. You can do your palm or your fist on the ground. My elbow is straight up, and I'm going to draw my right shoulder blade more towards the spine. And then the left hand is going to keep reaching to the right until you kind of sense that the back of your shoulder is coming to the floor. And then we're going to push the entire length of the left arm from the back of the shoulder to the back of the hand into the ground. You can stay here or take your right arm up, but if you do that, do not lose the work in your left arm. Turn your palm towards the left side of the room, so you're going to internally rotate your arm, which is the opposite action that we've been doing all class. Internally rotate. Bring the back of your forearm to the low back, and then see if you can press your hips a little bit to the left. And breathe. And we'll take our right hand back down, reach the left arm up towards the sky, and switch sides. Right arm comes up. Take your right arm behind the left. Reach all the way to the left side of the room. Left arm becomes like a kickstand, so your left elbow is up. You have this little box in front of your face. Take your left shoulder blade back. Press your right arm into the ground. Stay here or reach your left arm up, internally rotating the arm so that the back of your forearm comes along your low back, and then shift your hips a little bit to the right. Breathe. And we'll take the left hand back down, right arm up towards the sky, and take your hands to the floor. Go ahead and reach back into downward facing dog. See if you can kind of come up with all of those alignment points that we've been working on. And then inhale forward into plank pose. Your shoulder blades are broad here as you push the floor away from you. Lower only halfway down. Try to keep the heads of your shoulders lifted away from the floor so you're not diving forward like this, but you're staying hovering. Tops of feet to the floor, straighten your elbows. Draw your shoulder blades together, lift your chest. This is upward dog and downward facing dog. Okay, if you've had enough, find child's pose. Otherwise, one more time through that sequence. Inhale forward. Exhale, halfway lower. Inhale, upward dog. And exhale, downward dog. Nicely done. Okay, let's take our knees to the ground. We'll come to a seat and then lie down onto the floor. Go ahead and hug your knees in towards your chest. Take your arms out wide. Take your feet to the floor and then bring your hips over to the left. Take your knees back up and over to the right. Twist. And you can roll your head to the left and attempt to drop your left shoulder blade down towards the floor. Take a couple of big belly breaths here. Press through the backs of your arms to stabilize you. As you come back through center with the legs, bring your feet to the floor, hips over to the right side. Lift the knees up and drop knees to the left. Roll your head to the right. See if you can relax your right shoulder towards the floor. And deep belly breaths. And push into the backs of your arms to stabilize as you bring your knees up. Take your feet to the floor. Bring your pelvis back to center. And hug your knees into the chest. And perhaps rock side to side. See if it would feel good to do some freestyle movements with your legs. Maybe draw some big circles with your thighs. And then we'll make our way lying down on our backs. With the palms turned up, arms by your sides. And then tuck your right shoulder blade underneath you just a little bit, and then your left, and sort of hug your shoulder blades down the back. Take a big deep breath in, and on your exhale, just let them spread naturally as your mid-back drops towards the floor. We'll stay here for just a few minutes to help your body integrate all of that good work you did. And all you have to do here is just rest. Give yourself space, breathe. We'll take a slow, full, deep breath in. Full breath out. Bend your knees. Take your feet a little wider than your hips. And you can bring your knees together. Hands to your belly. And then with your fingertips, sort of walk your fingers around in a circle, massaging your belly after all of that hard abdominal work. And then reach your arms back, your legs forward, big full body stretch. Full exhale, relax everything. Turn onto your side, pick yourself up, come to a seat that's comfortable. And just notice what it's like to sit here with the crown of your rib cage, right? The shoulder girdle sort of sits like a crown on the top of your rib cage, just so beautifully propped. You just feel how you might have some aliveness here at the top of your torso, some broadness, some containment. These are all possibilities. Notice what you notice. And if you're still on your journey of working on noticing yourself in general, like this is just such an evasive place that has very little sensation, then know that you've taken one step closer to getting there. All right, thank you so much. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.